We know this summer is all about fun in the sun, but it's also a time to make sure we're keeping ourselves safe in this hot weather.
Dr. Gordon Harkness is the medical director with Optum, here to tell us what we need to know in this sponsored interview. It's a hot summer. We had a real long winter, but now we are in it, and it's toasty.
Yes, it's definitely hot outside, but with that comes all that extra sun exposure, and you've got to protect yourself from the sun.
All right, so what do we need to know about protecting ourselves when the heat is like this and when the sun is out?
Yeah, it's important to know that the part of the sunlight that affects our skin is the UV light, and so UV or ultraviolet rays are the things that cause the sunburns, or the things that can cause skin cancer. So the more exposure you have to this, the more likely in the future you are to get skin cancer and that type of thing. So between the hours of 10 a.m., 4 p.m., that's the time when usually the UV rays are the highest. And I think it's important also to know that even if you're in the shade, even if it's a cloudy day, there still can be enough UV radiation to get a sunburn. And then the weather reports, they include this now, UV index. And so I think that checking that out, making sure that if the UV index is above 3, you probably need to be protecting yourself.
I think that's such a good reminder, though. I've heard that before about cloudy days, but I wouldn't think about it if I'm going to be sitting in the shade. So even if I plan for clouds or shade, I should still have sunscreen all over me. I should still have a hat, the right clothing.
That's a good idea. Yeah, the right clothing, hat, sunglasses, protective clothing that covers you up. Yeah.
Okay, so what else can we do to protect ourselves out there?
Well, sunscreen is obviously a big part of this, and understanding how sunscreen works and why it helps. So as you look at those bottles, they'll have that SPF rating on it, the sun protection factor, and you want to make sure that you have at least a sun protection factor SPF of 15 or higher. The higher it is, the more protection you get from the sunscreen, and obviously you follow the directions out. You have to apply it multiple times throughout the day. It wears off after a while.
Well, better safe than sorry. Yeah. Let's talk about what we should be wearing, though. Sometimes with my little kids, I get nervous and I think, do I want the least amount of clothing or do I want them covered from the sun? What is safe?
Yeah, so covering up, the more you can cover up, the better as far as protection from the sun, making sure you've got clothing that is gonna keep that sunlight off of that sensitive skin, especially with the younger kids. I think we're often better at remembering this for our kids. We need to think about it for ourselves as well, but clothing is important. And another thing to keep in mind is that it's not recommended to use sunscreen for those toddlers 6 months and younger.
Okay.
So we also should say that sunscreen has expiration dates, and I forget that when it starts separating, you probably shouldn't use it anymore.
Yes, pay attention to the expiration dates. If your bottle doesn't appear to have one on it, the good rule of thumb is about 3 years shelf life.
3 years.
Okay. Ooh, that's good to know. You know, I do worry about overheating. If I think, okay, I'm going to have the boys covered up, I'll try to cover up, but overheating can happen. So you say be careful with the fabrics. Certain fabrics are better.
Yeah, some are a little more breathable than others, and it's always important to make sure you stay hydrated. If people are getting hot, get inside, enjoy the air conditioning for a while, not just enjoying the outside.
Let's also remind our viewers, if you are taking medication, that could be making you more sensitive to the sun.
Yes, this is an important thing. And then there's actually two aspects of this. So on the one hand, medications themselves can be affected by heat and light. And so it's important to make sure you're storing it in the bottles that they came in and make sure you keep it in a cool, dry place. But then the medications themselves sometimes make our skin a little more sensitive, more likely to get a sunburn or at least have irritation. So, and these are common things like antibiotics, oral contraceptives, cholesterol medications. It's really interesting. There's a lot of medications that can make our skin more sensitive to light. And so it's just important to be aware of that. If you have questions about it, don't stop your medication, but talk to your doctor about it and find out if that's something that you need to be worried about.
Wow, what a good one. I don't think I would have even thought about that. And then it can cause changes to your skin that might be hard to reverse. What great information. Where do we go to learn more?
Yeah, optum.com/Utah has a great website with a lot of information.
This was such a great day for you to come in and talk about the sun, because there's a lot of it out there today. Go to abc4.com/GTU and we'll link you to all of Optum's information. And thank you for that sponsored interview today.
Thank you.
Wear your sunscreen.